Hello guys, welcome to the stream. I hope you're doing good. So I'll be doing a small stream tonight. We'll make a very small game. I have a simple idea that I want to try. So it will be in 2D. I already set up the project. So I want to change a few things with my Godot project. I'm going to go with 1920 by 1080. Okay, that's fine. Test width, I'm going with a smaller test width because I want you to see something. Mode 2D, no, viewport, that's what I want. And I want keep. Okay, in quality. Anyway, I want to change a few things. I will go with a bit of anisotropic filtering and a bit of MSAA. Okay, cool. So the goal of this stream is to make a small game. I want to make a spaceship, a very simple spaceship. I think I want to make it physics based, and the goal will be to navigate through some levels, some space, but you will have only a thrust and a bit of steering, so you'll have to maneuver around the levels without maybe touching walls or obstacles. I'm not sure. We'll see as we go. I'm setting up a stream for about an hour because I don't want to take too long for now. I know that I'm going to be exhausted at the end, so I'm starting small and we'll see. So okay, I'm going to start. I'm going to create a player. So as I said, it's going to be a rigid body 2D. We need to set up a collision shape. I'm going to start with a very simple collision shape, maybe a rectangle shape, or no, a capsule shape. I don't want it to be too small. Okay, should be fine. And I will be using a Polygon 2D to draw something. So please be gentle with my drawing skills. It's very hard to draw with a Polygon 2D, but I'm going to do something just to see the orientation of the ship. Maybe it's going to be easier. So let's say that's the nose. Okay, it's basically an arrow, right? It's an arrow. It's not really a ship, but anyway, should be fine. Okay, what color? A bright color to make it visible. Okay, cool. I need to save this scene, and I'm going to put it in a folder named scenes. I like to do that. I like to usually do scenes, another folder for audio. I'm not going to add audio, I think. I won't have time. And visuals. And inside this, I put a subfolder for SFX, music, and in visuals, I put everything like sprites, shaders, visual effects, all of that stuff. And in scenes, I will have all my scenes, maybe again a subfolder if the scenes are a bit more involved, like levels. I would have a subfolder. But for now, we'll keep it simple. So I have my player. I'm going to set up a bit of a physics settings right there. So I will start with a mass of 1, and we'll see. I want contact monitor. I want to be able to monitor contacts, so I'm going to put 10 in the contacts reported. We'll see. Everything is prone to change, and I'm going to add some dampening. I'm not sure how much I should put. Maybe 5. Maybe 5. Again, we'll see. I'm going to create a test scene right there, in which I'm going to instantiate the player. And let's say that the player is going to start around here. Static body 2D. Okay. And I'm going to start very, very simple. I advise you to start very simple, as always. You start simple and then you add up. So I'm going to start with a rectangle shape. Something like this. Just to get some borders and to test the player movements. We will have something, but this is not what I want. Of course, this is not what I want, because by default there's gravity, and remember we are in space, so there's like no gravity. So you have multiple ways of doing it. You could change the gravity scale, you could change the gravity inside the project, use an area, a big area with no gravity. You can do whatever you want, but I'm going to do the easiest for me, which is physics 2D. And right there, if I put 0, it should be fine. And yes, it's fine. Input map, I'm going to add some actions. So left to go left, right to go right, and thrust to thrust, of course. So left and right, I'm changing the dead zone, and you're going to see why in just a second. And actually I might do the same with thrust. That way we have some finer control. And I want to use the analog stick, but I also want to use the analog shoulder trigger. I don't know how it's called. And in Godot you can use all of that very easily, but you have to change the dead zone. So basically the dead zone is a value that will affect the result of the analog stick. So if the analog stick is not going higher than 0.15, then I'm getting no read. This is important because joysticks are never at 0. They will always drift a little, and maybe you will have something like 0. I don't know. So if you don't put a dead zone, it's going to be problematic. So maybe 0.15 is too high. I don't know. So that's fine. Okay, I should have left, right, and thrust, and all the other stuff that comes by default. So that should be fine. So I'm going to attach a script. I know that I'm going to use the process function, and I know that I'm going to use the physics process also. I want to use the process function because the process function updates as fast as possible. So I want to grab the inputs in the process function and apply the physics in the physics process, of course. So I'm going to grab the result input dot get action strength right minus input input get action strength left. Okay, so that should give me a vector, which that should give me a float, which will be from -1 to 1. So -1 being left and 1 being right, because this part is going to be 0 and 1, and this part also. That's why I'm using a minus here. That way we have a value between -1 and 1, and we can use that to steer the spaceship, apply some torque, and we are going to do that in just a second if I'm doing that. Okay, so thrust, we are going to do the same thing, input.get action strength, and this time we're going to use thrust. And just because we never know, I'm going to print the thrust and the deer just to be sure that it's working fine. Okay, so I'm connecting my device. -1 when I'm going to the left, and 1 when I'm going to the right. And this button that will give you some nice fine control to move the ship. Okay, that's cool. So Solo is saying that I think all viewers are French, so he can speak French. Yes, maybe that you are all French. I'm not sure though. But still, I want people to be able to watch that later on. So I'll stick with English. And it's going to be a good lesson for you. What? And I can give a force. So, what is my force? Well, I want to apply the thrust in the y direction. Actually, in the transform of my object. So that would be negative y. Okay, going up would be negative y. And going the other way around would be positive y, of course. So I'm going to use the transform. So I'm going to use no global transform dot y times thrust. I need to apply in the positive y direction, but maybe var force. Maybe I will define a force. I'm not sure. Okay, so it's really small. I don't know how you're supposed to play with the values there. So you see, I'm using 100. 100 is clearly too small. Maybe 500. I don't know. The thrust has to be applied in the opposite direction you want it to go. But obviously I was wrong. So right now, woohoo! We have our little thing, and it's stopping pretty fast. So it's stopping pretty fast because I set up some linear damp, and maybe the damp is too much. So let's see with a damp of 1, for example, and I'm going to do the same with oops, sorry. I'm going to do the same with angular damp. So we have the force. Now we can do the same thing, but for the torque. So set applied torque, and we are going to use the direction with something. So I'm not sure how much we should use. By the way, I'm going to rename that to thrust force, just for more clarity. So set applied torque, direction times torque's force. Okay, maybe 200. Maybe it's going to be way too much. I have no idea. Yes, of course. But this should not be a vector, right? Am I dumb? Yes, I am. Because this is not a vector, right? I don't remember my output. But I think this is not a vector at all. This is just a float. I will just enable in the debug, I will enable the collision shape for you, because otherwise you don't see what's going on. Alright. So as you can see right now, it's spinning much faster. And I think that's good. Test script. So func process if input dot is action just pressed. So if we're just pressing the restart, no, not remote. Shit. Restart to call get-tree dot reload current scene. Okay, I will just do something like this, and I will use the fact that the collision shapes are visible. Okay, so that's pretty useful. I don't have to do any any art, because I really don't want to do art right now. But I want that to be a bit smaller, right? So as you can see, this is an interesting thing for I think most Godot users know that, but when you're starting out, it's a bit weird. So if I change one rectangle shape here, every rectangle shape will change. This is because I've duplicated all the collision shape, and they are using the same collision shape here. Godot will always try to share resources as much as possible. So it will share materials in 3D. It will share shapes like this. So right now, if I want to change this one, I can just click Make Unique, and now I can change this one. So that's cool. So I'm going to change this one like this. Whoops, sorry. This is very dirty the way I'm doing it. But you have to start somewhere. I think this is the most common mistake for beginners. They want to do things the right way, but really, when it comes to game development, there's no right way to do things. You just have to do something, and by doing things over and over, you start to have a sense for what is really worth your time or not. And right now, this is a test, this is a prototype. We are already at 40 minutes, so I need to do something. And right after that, I will add maybe a... oh shit, I don't have a camera. So I'm going to add a camera to my player. I forgot you have to set current to your camera. In this kind of game, I think you would maybe add a better camera. Okay. Shit. See, all of that, the fact that my player can rotate around like this is cool because I don't have to code any of that. The physics engine will do it for me, which is cool. Maybe we need something like a way to know that we arrived, right, at the end of the level. So I'm going to create a scene for that, but again, when prototyping, it's totally fine to make everything into the same scene and then work on what should be a separate scene or not. I mean, for me, it's totally fine. I much prefer that you do something and produce something that is playable, but under the hood, it's total shit. But then you work on it. You have something to show players and stuff. That's the most important thing, I think. So I'm going to use an area 2D. I'm just going to rename this to area 2D. Maybe call it end area. Okay, and I'm going to add a collision shape. Okay, and the collision shape is going to be something like a rectangle shape. So what I want to check is I want to check body entered. Okay, body entered, I'm going to connect it. And I'm going to do something on the player in groups. I'm going to add my player to a group named player. I like to do that because that way I can go into my function here and check if not body dot is in group player. Oops, we can return. So basically we check if the body that has entered the area is not inside the player group, we can return because we don't care. And now we can create a signal. So the signal is player finished, maybe, I don't know. We create a signal, and in this case we can emit a signal called player finished. Okay, cool. So right now what I can do is click on end area, and under signals I have my player finished, and I can connect it to the test scene. But for now, okay, I need to do something. So do stuff and then change it later. So right now it's simply so when we arrive at the end, it's simply going to restart the scene, right? Oops. Okay, already I can't control my game. Okay, it's working fine. So this is not the most interesting game that you've ever seen, right? but this could totally be this could be a speedrunning game. You need some skills to go around. Okay, what I want to try is to add some obstacles, because right now it's a bit boring. Obstacles. So let's create, for example, some spikes. So I'm going to change the type. I'm going to create it as a static body 2D. I'm going to create a static body 2D. I'm going to use a polygon 2D, and I'm going to use a collision polygon 2D. So this is a small trick. I think a lot of people know this trick. It's not a secret or anything. But basically, in Godot, you have this little polygon 2D node, which allows you to draw things like this. So again, we don't really care about the shape. Maybe something like this should be fine. Okay, so these are my spikes. They are going to be red, of course, because death and stuff. So red is cool. And what I can do now is I can attach a script to my spikes. I can remove everything because I don't care. And in the ready function, I can go collision shape polygon 2D dot polygon equals polygon 2D dot polygon. Because they use the same data, which are those points there, you can basically set the collision shape to be the same as the polygon 2D, which is very neat. It's a very neat trick that you can use to prototype things and to do cool stuff with it. But what I can do though is again use the nodes, use the groups here, and I will create a group called deadly obstacles, because you can have obstacles, just regular obstacles, and we will do some just after that, but you can have deadly obstacles. Okay, so this is a deadly obstacle, and we'll use this somewhere here. So spikes. Oops. So let's imagine what the player is doing. You're going straight like this and you're trying to turn right there. What probably will happen is that you will understeer and you will hit this, or you will oversteer and you will hit this. So because this is the first step, I don't want the player to be too scared. I don't want to be too hard with him. So let's put it somewhere here for now. Okay, and I'm going to duplicate it with Control D to duplicate. Maybe put another spike here. Maybe put a third spike somewhere here. So I didn't acknowledge the fact that you were 9 right now, and that at some point you were like 12 or something. I don't know. So thanks for dropping by. It's really cool. Hope you're liking what you're seeing. Okay, so we have some deadly obstacles. What I can do is I can do it inside the player function, inside the player script, sorry. We can check for body entered. Okay, so we can check for body entered, and if not, if body, shit, I don't know how to write. Body is in group deadly obstacles, we can return. Again, we don't care if the player is colliding with something that is not a deadly obstacles. We don't care. But you would use that later on. Okay, this player collision, you could use that later on to maybe play some sound effects or some VFX. So that should be fine. So I want to get the tree, and I want to reload the current scene. Later on, you would use something like a HUD and show a message to the player or something. But right now, inside the player, I just want to check if I'm hitting an obstacle, and if I am, then I'm just reloading the scene because I'm dead. Cool. Okay, so okay, and okay, it works fine. Again, this is very, very crude, and you should add things. Oh, see, it's really well placed. I don't want to pat myself too much, but I think it's really well placed because you get there. But yeah, I think it's well placed, the obstacle, because you arrive there and then you arrive there, and because of the way you're steering, you can totally get spiked. Like, see? Okay, that's cool. Okay, that's cool. We could create an explosive barrel because who doesn't like explosives, right? What is a game without explosives? So we can do an explosive barrel. It's going to be a rigid body. It's going to be a rigid body, I think. It's going to have a polygon 2D. I'm going to use this time a simple collision shape. I don't want to make something very complicated. I will use a rectangle shape. Something maybe like this. What are the extents? So 30 by 45. I'm already going to put it in my test scene. That way I can get a sense of scale. Okay, so it's not too... See? It's not too small. Maybe a tad bigger. I don't know. It should be fine. Okay. Anti-aliased, yes. Okay, so data. Okay, I'm really eyeballing all of that. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It should be fine. Again, it's a prototype. I don't care. So we have this little explosive barrel. Maybe we're going to put it somewhere here. The explosive barrel. What I want with that, I want something that later on will visually be interesting. And it's not too dangerous, which is pretty fine, I think. So basically, what I want is when you collide with the barrel, there's a timer that will start, sorry, and after, let's say, 2 seconds, I don't know, it will explode. So you can hit the barrel, it's not really a problem, but you have to be careful because it will explode and it will kill you, of course. So we have the barrel here, and as you can see, I can collide with it. It's pretty fine. So we'll add a timer. I'll add an area 2D, and inside the area I want a collision shape. The collision shape is going to be a circle shape. This is going to be the influence of the barrel exploding. Okay. So if we take a look, this is what it's looking like right now. So as you can see, the area is roughly the size of the tunnel here, of the thing, of the path. I hope you like my barrel, and then I can use a script and I can check for body entered. Okay. Again, we're going to use the same line as before. If not body.is in group player, we will return. That's cool. But if that's not the case, it's because this is the player. So we can call timer dot start, and the timer, I told you before, that I wanted something like 2 seconds maybe. Is it enough? I think so. We'll see. I want it to be one shot. Okay, otherwise it's going to go on, and I don't want that. I can connect the timeout signal. So I think it will be fine to do area 2D dot get overlapping bodies var bodies. I think it will return an array, so we can check the size, I guess, because bodies is an array. We can check its size. So if bodies dot size is equals to 0, we can return, because there's nothing inside. Just to be sure, we'll print the bodies, but I think it should be fine. Okay, and otherwise, what do we want to do? Well, we want probably to kill, if you want to kill the player. But before that, we need to check. We need to loop over the bodies, check if one of them is the player, and do something with the player. That's the first thing we want to do. And then what we want to check is maybe there's another body inside of this body. So for example, in my test scene, right there, it won't fire. But let's say I do something like this. Because this body is inside this one, I mean inside the area, the explosive area, I want it to be, I want it to fire. So we also need to check. Yes, we also need to check that. So we'll do. So for body in bodies, we'll loop over the bodies. If body dot is in group player, we'll do something. And if body dot is in group, I don't have a group for that, so explosives. Okay, I'm going to create that group, explosives. So if the body is an explosive, we can also do something. And we'll create a function there that is going to be called explode, I think. Okay. And basically, we are going to do that inside explode. Okay? Right there. So, when there's a timer timeout, we call explode. In explode, we check what is colliding with the area. And if there's something, we check if it's a player or an explosive. And if it's an explosives, we can do body dot explode. We can call explode function, and that will trigger explosions, right? One after the other, and that's pretty cool. Okay, well, the player, maybe he has something that is body die. He has a die function, so we'll call the die function maybe here, func die. And inside die, again, what are we going to do? Because right now I don't have anything else to do. We'll simply call get.tree dot reload current scene. And now we can replace this line by die. That way, later on, if I implement something like an explosion or a something, VFX, SFX, we'll just do that in the die function. Okay, so that's cool. Right now, oh, yes, but Stack Overflow. Oh shit. Yes, of course. Oh, okay. So you know what's happening? This is really interesting. Right there, it's actually trying to do something, but it's doing it over and over and over again. Why is that? Because so I pushed this little barrel over there, right? And this barrel exploded. So it checked the area, and there was this barrel inside its area. So this barrel exploded. But when it was exploding, what was the barrel doing? Well, it checked again. It checked the area, so it could explode on this one, and again and again and again and again and again. Okay, so we need a way. We need a way to know that we already exploded, so we shouldn't trigger the function. That is quite important. So inside the explosive barrel, we'll have a variable called exploded, and basically when we call explode, if we exploded already, we can return. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything else if we already exploded. And now it should work. So I'm just going to check that real quick before moving on. So I'm pushing this. Oops. Oh, I have the same problem again. It's weird. But I need to set explode to... Fuck. Of course, I did... So I corrected the problem, but I forgot to actually set this value to something. So if exploded is true, we return. But there's no way, nowhere that we set this value. So exploded here should be true. And now, see, now it should work. Okay, so it exploded. You can see in the, you can see there that we got the prints. It printed the bodies, but we need to actually see something. Once all of that is finished, I can call deferred Q3. This is important. This is important to call to use call deferred, because basically if you use Q3, it's telling Godot remove that node from the tree and basically delete it. But because this is a physics object, maybe there's collisions that are happening or something. So you need to use call deferred. That way, Godot will do the cleaning once it's done with everything else. And it should avoid some problems. So of course, it explodes and now it's not there anymore. And I don't know how to drive my little ship. So okay, I'm going there and then I died. Okay, so this is a very crude, and then I will die. Okay, so right now there's no feedback, nothing. So this is pretty terrible. As a player, you don't know what's happening. You don't know if the barrel is going to explode or not. We have that. It's working. It's really rough. It's really rough. I want to add some particles. I want to add some text. I want to do a bit more, of course. This is really the basis, the basics. It's fine right now. It's fine, but of course you would need more. Je vote pour un épisode 2. Okay, so someone is already good for an episode 2. That's nice. That's cool. I was a bit stressed. I have to be honest with you, but I think it went pretty well, and we can totally do something like this, like do a follow-up stream. That should be fine. We can totally do an episode 2 where we work on SFX, VFX. We add a bit of art. I don't know how to make pixel art, but I can do a bit of vector art, so that should be fine. I think it's cool. What I will do is, I think I will export the game right now. It's terrible, but I will export it. I will put it on itch. If you want to play it, if you want to try it, you can. If you have problems, if you see some bugs or whatever, you can just tell me, and we'll fix it next time. I think that should be good. I'm going to drop the Discord link in the chat. I have a Discord, and you can join the Discord if you want. Come to hang out, talk about game dev, talk about your projects, ask for help, whatever you want. It's cool. I'll also post a link in the Discord to the itch page once it's ready, so you'll be able to play the game, even if it's a really small game, and you'll be notified of everything. Thanks again for dropping by. Thanks for your time. I hope it was interesting for you. Do not hesitate to tell me what you want to see and what I could do better. In the meantime, have a great day. Have a great evening if you're in France. And I'll see you soon. Bye.